another episode of our Secure Dollar podcast, where we bring in many bright talents and individuals from both inside and outside our dental industry. Today, we have a very, very special guest. But before we go on, I just wanted to bring in our sponsor. And our sponsor for this pod is DentVia. It's a dental virtual assistant administration company that assists in back-end office tasks for your front desk and managers. Visit them at www.dentvia.com. Again, it's www.dentvia.com. Now, without further ado, I'm going to be introducing Dr. Marc Cooper. This guy is a legend. Over 58 years of experience and relationships at every level of the dental industry, from working at the chair to being chairman of a board. And also, his traveling over 1.2 million miles. This guy is a legend. He has been like a consultant for single practices to Fortune 500 companies in 17 countries, from single practice to, running DSOs in both Europe and US. And his credential just kind of like outspeaks his personality. He's such a humble guy. And today I'm so honored to be joined by Dr. Marc Cooper. So Dr. Cooper, without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic on to you.
I don't know what to do with the mic, but thank you. All of that may be true, but it doesn't matter. What matters is where you're sitting in your skin, in your situation, and what is the future that you're moving into. One of the things that's I'm working on now is that we are a knowledge society, but we are not a wisdom society. And what comes with those 58 years of being in dentistry at some level, is wisdom. And wisdom is different than knowledge. And it's rarely applied, and certainly not in dentistry. So that's why it makes so many mistakes.
So when you say wisdom, what is your definition of wisdom, and where do you see it's lacking in this current environment of ours?
Great question. Asked a lot and hard to answer. Knowledge is linear, and it comes in a package, and it looks a certain way. It's information and data and interpretation and assessment and judgment, and it's all wrapped into something, and you call it knowledge. But it's not always effective. In fact, sometimes it gets in the way, not out of the way. Wisdom can see when it's getting in the way and knows how to disassemble it.
Wow.
That's the difference. So wisdom is really powerful. It's not embraced in our culture. It wouldn't look the way it looks if wisdom were pervasive in our culture. Knowledge is. You can, I use ChatGPT every day. I think it's a wonderful tool, but it doesn't make life better. So that's the work there is for me to do now at my age. But let's talk about dentistry. What's the burning questions your audience has? What do they bother you about?
Wisdom and dentistry, these two items, right? Which is why I think you're the perfect fit to answer these questions in relation to dentistry and how do we get wisdom in this field? Because the dental field is really rapidly changing. The landscape is just shifting.
Yeah, and, that's a great question.
And I wanted to see your insight.
Yeah, good for you. I do too, I suppose. I don't know if they're insights. This is just the way I see it, and you could say I am inciting what I am doing both. I'm causing it to look that way, and I see it that way. It's interpretive. Been around a long time. I was just thinking before I spoke with you that I used to do my recalls on 5x7 cards. It was that was the age of dentistry at that moment in time. And then I've been engaged with it and watched its evolution. It has a long tail. So one of the things about wisdom I find really I really appreciate is you get to see further into the past and more forward into the future. You can see the trend. So wisdom sees the trend, knowledge sees the changes. That's one of the differences. And it's like, oh, okay, of course it's going to go there. People ask me about how I generated my success. And that's because I just knew where it was going. And I just got off at I got to the right station first. So it made it really easy. So I suppose wisdom isn't age bound. It's a way of seeing the world. So I had some wisdom in that particular area. Others I didn't.
So anyone with this knowledge that you're talking about here, so with this wisdom, I mean, we can apply it any time in our lifetime, in our lifespan, right? I mean, it doesn't have to come with learning
I don't know
in
people
a
are looking
bad
for
way.
it, though. The problem is I don't know if people are looking for it. We're so knowledge consumed. I watch on your social media because I'm part of it. I am dentistry in certain ways. I am dentistry in certain ways.
You are.
And it's wonderful. It gave me a huge world to live inside of. A great reality. Was it true or not? Doesn't matter. It was what I had, and it trained me, it developed me, it compensated me. It did a lot for me. And I tried to give it back because, and what I did when I brought to it was take a look and see where the future is going and then get there. Because if you don't, you're going to be behind. So that's where I always work from. It's like, okay. I remember I gave the first talk on computers in dentistry in 1987. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And then I knew what my job was, to make them crazy. So I did that. I did that for a long time. Same thing with DSOs. Same thing with everything that they're doing now. They have, the big boys have really figured it out well. And so you have to understand that's where it is.
Yeah, let's dive into the DSO world since you mentioned it.
Yeah, I know, but you think you don't have much to do with it. So if you take a look at the attitude dentistry has towards the certainty that larger business is going to be the future, they're not generating the kind of relatedness or abilities needed to make that future happen. They're resisting it, or they're pushing against it, or they're gossiping about it, or they're assessing it. Rocks are hard, water is wet, and it won't. The title DSO is interesting because I don't think it'll be that in 5 years. It'll be something else. But that is the future. Okay, are we preparing ourselves for the future? And dentist says I am, like every other dentist, is resistant to change.
Right.
Like, oh, I don't want to change to do that. I don't want to become that. Well, okay.
What do you think it is? Is it fear or is it ego?
It's all. It's just, you have to not take it or out of your vocabulary and see how big it gets. Like, oh, okay. It's ego, which is who you understand yourself to be. That is an ego. Who you understand yourself to be. And then there's people have a hard time recognizing that aspect of themselves. They think it's real. But their ego determines your perception, and so your perception reinforces your ego. So the two are in cahoots to see the world they want to see. But if you look at the anatomy of an ego, it's pretty frail. It's not well designed. And that's the advantage for a conscious person, is to be able to use a little judo here and the force of the opponent. Sometimes the ego is a wonderful thing to use unless it's using you. And so there's a way to learn how to do that. It takes some time.
And you're absolutely right, because I've been seeing like these bigger, larger companies, they're coming in, they are more efficient, they have more capital, they have more manpower, more resources. I mean, how is a single office or a single practitioner going to be competing against these guys?
It doesn't really matter. I mean, I remember my cousin Harry in his operatory with his chain-driven slow drill. I remember, and the spittoon.
Right.
So when you look One of the things that's been very contributory to me is to be able to look from multiple directions. And if you, so one of the bodies of work I'm working on now is I'm bringing numbers of religions together to see what's the commonality of what is the source for all of them. That's what I'm looking at. And what I'm seeing is there's an access to something that dentists can't go beyond. If they could, it's just a job to learn from. It's if they would add a Buddhist perspective of the job is the yoga, the job is what can I learn from it, the job is what can I see for it, the job is where can I grow from it, rather than there's some limiting factor if I don't have it my way. That makes no sense because it's going to go the way it goes. That's how life works, I'm afraid. So hey, if it's going in this direction, either make a choice to get out, which is fine, and do something else, or make a choice to really learn how to play this game because this is the game you've got. And I think it's a wonderful game.
So you're saying either get out or
either... If dentists could really understand how to play, they could be contributory, participatory, intellectual, knowledgeable. Right. They could have a world that's really pretty extraordinary because these guys, as you said, have the capital, have the means, have the knowledge base. They've got resources that would be, wow, if I could get a hold of those, that would be great.
It's like if they can embrace it and just take it and basically just work with it, like you said, like making it like the oyster.
That's what you got.
Right.
Rocks are hard. Water is wet. And here's the future. Okay, now choose.
What are you going to do?
See, that's where you said, what are they afraid of or what is the ego? Both. Change is really scary. It's like, well, I've designed myself to be this way in the future, and that expectation will probably not get realized. And then if you look underneath that, expectations unfulfilled lead to upsets. So dentists are upset a lot. It's like they're but they're not going to make a change that way.
Correct. And I've been seeing data I've been showing more and more of the dentist population that's coming out of dental schools. They are less likely to own a practice. And I've been seeing this trend going on for the last 5-6 years. It's just on a decline. There are still those gung-hos that would still want to own their practice, but I've been seeing it's going down.
There's no reason to building your own dental school. It's like, is there a reason to do that? No. So you went to dental school because there was an existing structure that allowed you to forward a certain career objectives, and you followed it. And so then if you look at I just spent a lot of time at the Colorado Plateau and Zion National Park, and you see the layers of rocks.
Right.
And I'm that in dentistry. I've seen the lower levels and where, it's an accumulation to where it is right now. It's a lot of rock, right? And you guys just haven't adapted yourselves well enough to the environment that you're in. No. It's just, okay, here it is. I find dentists are really brilliant, really smart. I've worked with a lot of people. And, I'm sitting in a boardroom in Nebraska, wall-to-wall wood, everybody with their hair parted the same way. And the red tie was just how perfect for Midwest. But this is a $11 billion company. And then I realized that, they're all dentists. They all, dentists just don't really know who they are. So they don't grow into what they could be in the world. They rather see this career path being attacked by an external force, the aliens. They're coming. Rather than going, it's the way it's going. Let me learn how to play in that water. Let me learn that game. Because it's a brilliant game. It's been working for a very long time. When I began this whole conversation, DSOs were 3% of the market. So I presented a future that no one really wanted to hear. and I'm still doing that. That's like, I guess that's my career path. It's like, wow, okay, keep it up. It's because you can't win at a game that isn't being played by you. It's just you can't.
And what is it now?
I think there's a truth about the industry. I think it's a corporate expression now.
Okay.
Okay. So when I began, just like you, I began with an individual expression, and then people came along and said, well, you really need to take responsibility in a different way, which is ownership, leadership, and management. You got to grow up. It's a business. It's not a hobby. Even
right.
You got to run it. And then all the tools over time became available from the 5x7, keep your recalls on that list, to a computer system that actually can figure it out and send out reminders and do the scheduling and, manage it so that you have an 82% return rate or whatever you've targeted out for. All those tools are now in place. And then the bigger boys, well, they have figured out how to expand that intelligence into looking from a much different perspective, because they have multiple ways to look at it. So it gives them this different view of what's available, so they can see the flow and ebb much more clearly, because you're on the ground, you're right in it. So you don't have that perspective. That perspective gives you power. So it has to go there. It's the only place it can go. And there's no artificial intelligence, just it's major tool now. Once you have that in your hand, it's like, whoa, this is a jet engine. I remember the first time I got in a really powerful car when I was a teenager. It was like, whoa, my God. That's what's here now with these 2 practices a week or whatever they're doing.
Right.
They're really figuring it out. And they're generating a revenue stream that is less expensive to produce. And that's important. So the investors see opportunity here. So now you have this dance going on between the equity and the practices. Everybody wants to play in this arena.
Right.
So it's got a lot of confusion, a lot of upset, a lot of, too many offers. There's not a lot of clarity. You have 4 major players that have sustained over years, that have some stability. It's all over the place. So it's an interesting time, but
no, you're right.
It's also a great opportunity for
you're right,
from my viewpoint.
Because I'm seeing medicine going that direction, has gone that direction. How do you think dentistry is? How far do you think we are compared to medicine? Because I've not seen any MDs going to open up their own practices.
Yeah, that's the exact question. You should take a look at the source of that. You speak as though you're not part of the healthcare system.
Right.
Yeah, that's a dentist. They don't have an appreciation for the power of context and the part that they're actually playing.
Right.
There's something that they don't understand about the environment, the ecosystem that they're part of. You're not taking advantage of what you really have. You're first responders. And you're not using that particular position to negotiate yourself in the higher order of healthcare and setting it up that's the game you play. That would be a different intention than holding on to the past. That would be different.
So you know what? Yeah, let's switch gears a little bit to dental students. Majority of the dentists out there, they are always complaining that when we were in dental school, we were not taught about finances. We were never taught about businesses.
It has nothing to do with financing. It has nothing to. Everything can be outsourced eventually if you understand how the game is played. There's a lot of things I am really bad at. But I've learned in my aging process to find people that are good at it and then collaborate with them to get 100%. The final product complete. So I think I've worked with probably hundreds of thousands of dentists over my career. And you know what? They're really good people. They don't believe how smart they are. They underplay their value. They don't figure out that they can think in a new way that will allow them to see the future in a new way. And so they limit themselves to a particular view of life and themselves, which doesn't have to be that way. And that's the way I see it. Again, this is the way I see life and the way it works. No, I dentistry is going to have to go in this direction of larger enterprises because the money's flowing there and the interests are flowing there. And the healthcare system of which you are a part is going there and wants to take dentistry with it. And we'll figure out a way to do that. There are larger interests involved.
Absolutely. So what are your thoughts on a lot of these dentists? They are like, is it a true assessment that dental school should be teaching a little bit more business on how to read a P&L, how to run and operate a business?
No.
What are your thoughts on that?
Dentists are perfect for what they're designed for, which is to take care of people's oral health. Let them do that. And then figure out a way to develop them in a particular way that gives them a certain level of happiness in life beyond just at the dental chair. Give them something beyond that, which I think is very doable. Company can afford to look more in areas of personal growth and development that would allow a dentist to live a life that's with the less issues that come with a singular ownership. I think there's a viable offer out there if the dentist could stand in a particular way when they negotiate their contracts. I'll just leave it at that.
And your thoughts on single practice dental offices?
It's a great way to play. I think it's a end game. If you want to play that game, please make the choice. There's a benefit and a cost. Just know what you're buying. The benefit is your autonomy. I love that myself. I love to be autonomous. I love to be able to make my own decisions and all that it gives me. But then I have the cost side. And the cost sides are pretty heavy because I've worked in both arenas. The cost side is I'm responsible. And
that's running a business.
I don't have a shared responsibility. I know, I'm part of a singular game. I'm a singular
exactly.
cell. So, if you look at the natural evolution of everything, it becomes multicellular. And that's just the way it was designed from the original start. So businesses have all gone that way. They have all gone that way. Can you name anyone in the Fortune 500 that is a single unit? Of course not.
Never.
So there's, when you take a look from a certain reality, and the reality rocks are hard, water's wet, and here we go. This is where it's going, and it can't be stopped.
No, you're 100% right. Even these big companies like Amazon's and Tesla's, these guys, the founders, I mean, they are like part owners. They're not even like, they don't own the 100%. They are like, 10, 15% owners.
Yeah, I don't believe the media. I don't believe the media, it's all that. I work with I had the opportunity to work
my
with
thing is just comparing like the mindset that we dentists have that we want to own 100% of everything, right? And it's like you said, you have to
see that's another fallacy and fantasy you tell yourselves because you don't own anything.
Correct.
The bank owns it, and the staff owns it. Patients own it. Then your wife owns it. Everybody's got their fingers in every year. It's a shared responsibility in a whole different way.
100%.
There's something else that the dentists have been unable to do, which is to be able to form themselves in a way that has allowed them to sit at the table with the other players that are absolutely in the game in a way that represents themselves well and gets a better outcome than they're getting now. They don't know how to do that. All they have to do is resist.
Correct.
That is not an appropriate strategy for this future.
What are some of the issues that you will see with this kind of attitude?
Exactly what we're seeing now. If I took a larger view of the whole situation and looked down upon it, what I would see is what's going on is aggregation. What's going on is, look at all these things that are going on. And I'm a part of all of this. There's a whole healthcare system that says we need certain things to allow us to operate better. I have the assets to be able to deliver to that, but I'm not forming my assets so they're transferable. So you begin to see in a whole new light, the industry has something more than individualistically that we do now. And people have an external viewpoint of seeing what I'm talking about in a way that they'll have the patience to bring it about. A lot of the DSO ownership is now not dentists.
Correct.
So that tells me something. It's like,
Correct.
wow, they saw something that the dentist couldn't see, or they would have done it.
So lastly, for dental students,
Dental
fees
students
going
are
up.
great. Dental students, they're...
I mean, is that a career you would still say that somebody should?
The whole deal is set up so strangely that it's interesting. Ideally, which would never happen, but ideally, there would be a contributory, but strongly recommended mentorship program set up post-graduation where people would get a direct experience of what it's like to be a dentist. But on the other side would be the dentist being willing to say, I'm responsible for the future of dentistry. And rather than personally becoming successful, I'm responsible for its future, not just my future. That would be a significant change that would need to occur. What they have now is go out and scramble and figure it out and take a ship for a couple of years. And if it doesn't fit, then get on another ship. And, their world is, more mobile than I grew up in. And so that mobility will continue and the flexibility will continue. But what I see, though, is the entire opportunity for different expression coming out of the dental schools, which is more open to what is occurring and learning to collaborate in a different setting than sitting at the lunch table with your colleagues. Learning how to talk in a horizontal fashion rather than just a vertical fashion. Learning how to collaborate.
I love that. Collaboration is a key these days. It's I've really evolved from a competition mindset to a more collaborating with people, and that has helped me out tremendously.
Okay. Anything else you want from me? Did I get my job done?
You did excellent, Dr. Cooper. Just one thing. What are you doing now? What's your role? Like, I see that you're a founder of the Elderly Foundation. What's that?
Best time in my life right now. So people have this whole conversation about aging and the issues that occur, which are all true. But there's another way of being about going through the aging process. And so I and a bunch of collaborative partners see that the trajectory of aging dictated by the culture is one that does not give you a level of satisfaction and happiness and joy. And so we've designed a different way to look at aging that has given us a different perspective of how to go through life and a lot more joy and equanimity and peace and appreciation. So I'm having the best time I've ever had in life at this moment in time.
It seems like you are next level now.
Yeah. All right. We're all good?
Right. Well, thank you very much for joining in.
All right. Thank you, buddy. Take care.
All right. You too. Take care.